Okay, this should be me up and running. There you go. Actually, while I'm thinking about that, Streamlabs. Make sure bots are running. Streamlabs doesn't always enable anymore. The YouTube one will not stay active. I think YouTube's APIs are just more restrictive. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to bring everything up on my dev machine just to make sure it's up. Let's start headlamp up. So I have one last little piece that I really, really want to get in place before testing to make sure that things are headlamp, new global search, add bulk deletion of communities, add a create button. Build plugins are shown, install view, improvements in the table component to make it more performant. Worry about that afterwards. So basically, what I want to do is figure out how to deploy the Kafka topics once the Kafka component starts up. And I've gone at this, I've tried this a few different ways now, but the idea being that when the Kafka broker is started and initialized, if I can then run a script or something to basically ensure all the topics are created, that means that when the rest of the services start up, they are then able to subscribe properly, etc. Because the topics need to be there beforehand. You can't just create a topic and then have a service automatically picking up. It's not polling for that all the time. So there's no benefit to try and creating them after everything's started, because then I've got to just restart everything again for it to work. And again, trying to make this so that I can just bring it down and bring it up and bring it down and bring it up and have people's data retained between restarts it's a key thing. I don't want to have to keep doing this. So what I've been trying to do is figure out different ways of doing this. And one of the ideas is using a job script, a job to run it. But the problem is that the recommendation was with BusyBots, but BusyBots doesn't have the Kafka tools installed. So then I found this JForge Kafka tools, but I can't figure out how to necessarily execute the commands that I want to execute. So I need to basically execute all these. And ultimately, this should be configurable. There is a tool in Pulumi for creating Kafka topics, but it's really only for when you've got Kafka configured already, right? Adding new topics is then scriptable, and you can bring them up and down. But because you have to define a variable for the Kafka settings for that deployment, which is not what I want to do. It is a way of doing it later. I can build scripts out, Pulumi scripts later for doing that. But yeah, it's that's future learning. But in the meantime, what I need to do is get this working. And I've been trying for several hours on this piece. It's basically making sure all these exist beforehand. But once that's running, we then start to be able to use the application more effectively. I wiped everything out yesterday. I'm going to continue to wipe things out until things are more stable and I understand um, the baseline on which I'm working, because then I can start actually using the system. So right now, what I've got this limited to is I have this set to just create the infrastructure, then the infrastructure just create the Kafka pieces, so I can just keep bringing this up and down to see if it fails. Now, what I did notice is if I have this extra piece running, this does not this doesn't work the way I intend. So hold on. If I do this, I do Pulumi dot all. Is it Pulumi dot all? Apply. That would wait for them to be ready, I suppose. Is it Pulumi dot all? That makes sense. All brokers. Then that goes in there. Job. I don't think that matters, but then when the name's ready, when all the brokers are ready, that would do that. But then the idea is that this goes into the same namespace. So then it shouldn't have to worry about fully qualified namespace. And it should be able to use 29092. Again, in my initial scripts, Kafka, Docker Compose, I have, I basically start another Kafka instance after broker. So broker starts here. This is the actual broker. And then I start another broker essentially to do this piece. So it wouldn't, it's not a million miles away, is it? Let's start again. Go. Services up Kafka. There is a way of making sure that things start properly in Kafka. I shouldn't always have to do the up and down. I've seen it before, but yeah, it's just taking that time to do, you know. But the init Kafka basically should come up and then disappear, and that's kind of the point. The way this works is this is using broker because it's part of the same piece, right? It's part of the same components, the network. So it should all be fine. This does work, I suppose. And again, I have the depends on here. Do you have discard in TypeScript? No, I suppose you don't have or map. Let's make sure they're all available. And then that depends on brokers still. So, yeah. And it's an array of stateful set. I mean, I could be making this more complicated than necessary by doing. Again, I've not got an array. I just need the set. But anyway, let's do this. Pulumi cd dev Pulumi liquid sky Pulumi up -y. No, not just YH. I really need to change the colors on this because it's absolutely unreadable. What I've been finding is if I've been starting this one up, the other broker just breaks, which is not solid. This Kafka broker just breaks then. Yeah, see? Invalid cluster ID expected, but red. If I remove the init, it works fine. And this is again is polling for the broker service, right? So this is asking for that service. It's resolving the IP. Yeah. Morning, Wallen. How you doing? Morning, Delta. Show previous. Mexican. Well, a bit tired, but ready for the day. Nice. Try this after server start. 3 hours into my day. Nice. So I did decide how to start the feedback process of Liquid Sky. I have created a forum in the Discord, which if you have your Twitch account linked to Discord, you should see the channel. Mainly because I've limited it to subs right now. You guys are subs. All the people I know that definitely want to be able to test this are subscribers. So I don't think there's anything bad about that. I just want to make sure it's limited or relatively limited. Obviously, it doesn't stop someone subscribing to get access, but yeah, it's 8:90. It's 8:20 for you, right? You're an hour ahead of us. I'm 2 hours into my day. So yeah. You should see in the streams section, there should be a Liquid Sky feedback channel that should appear if you've got your Twitch account linked to your Discord, which can be done. Nice. That's not right though. I shouldn't have to do anything weird. So if I bring it down, zoom me down. So I've changed nothing to do with the actual Kafka configuration that I've noticed. And if I don't do this piece, then do I suppose it's better than having to manually put all these pieces into place. So I have been racking my brain on how if I open this up and let people use it and they want to use it, how do I stop every stream becoming a bug fixing stream? Because I want to make progress on features, but also I need to fix things that aren't working as well, right? Because otherwise there's no benefits. So I'm gonna have to figure out that balance. There are some things that are not working that should work, which I'm not sure why they don't work, which is a little strange. Right now, there's some behaviors in there that just aren't present in the development version. So that's why I'm trying to make sure this is stable before I go ahead and say, let's go. I really wanted today to be the day. That's still failing? Yeah, so that's broken. Hold on. Blew me down. I know why. So in the development version, things work a little better, but in this version as it stands right now, not all the data's getting through. There's issues with changes not displaying. There's issues. There's a few different random issues. But in general, the process should work when it's deployed correctly. So, CD Kafka ls CD configuration ls. So I think rm sudo rf star. Let me see if that works now. Pulumi up -y. I'm wondering if that's corrupting the deployment. Yeah, I've got to figure out how to balance. You know, yes, there are things that are outstanding. How critical are they to fix to get the ideas in there? They're important to fix in the near to long term, but you know, is it going to help me if I just go chasing after every little bug? And if people are reporting bugs, that's awesome. But it's like I've got to prioritize. Why are you not working now? Writable failed. Right. So that is failing now because chmod sudo chmod -r 777 star. Yeah, definitely to triage bugs, and different people always have different. Right, but at this phase of this project, there's no way I'm chasing every single bug that anyone reports, because there's that can wait till later. That can be refinement later. If it's an actual blocking a feature, then like not being able to select a user, that's something worth investigating. But if it's a button doesn't line up properly, or the button disappears after pressing, like the refresh, that's something that I need to figure out. That is a tunnel issue. That is a reload, not diverting to the right path. Um, so yeah, as the entire focus is to try and get well, in production, no bugs are acceptable. Okay, so that's working now. So that's a permissions thing. Okay, now if is this because I have to start? Like I don't. It, do I want to do that? Do I really want to do that one? I think this is going to break things again, but we'll find out. Let's find out, because we have the broker up and running, right? Um, and yeah, there shouldn't be any major bugs or really many minor ones either. Right, and and that's the challenge with releasing a tool like this now into a testable state and saying, hey, you can log in and play with it if you want to. And obviously don't use it for actual work, because I'm going to wipe things out on a regular basis. Um, but it's a I'm going to have to balance, because I don't want to be fixing. Like I said, I don't want to get into a flurry of bug fixing and trying to, I'll solve that, and I'll solve that, and I'll solve that, because that's the problem that we get into when we stop being structured about it. I need to be more structured the more I do, not less structured the more I do. Um, and that is something I'm going to have to fight, because it's natural to want to go off and fix things, right? It's natural to go, oh, well, I can just jump to this. I can just jump to this. I can do this. And I can fix this, and, this will work. But like deployment, right? I've done a ton of stuff in this deployment branch that I probably shouldn't have done, but all in the name of making sure the deployment's running smoothly. Whereas I probably should have structured out that work. Thank you, Sarabot. Okay, so you errored. Why did you error? You errored immediately. Oh, I really don't want to spend an entire stream doing this, because this would be annoying. Um, uh, Run Kafka command startup or broker. So, with Kafka, if the topic doesn't exist when the consumers start up, they can't subscribe to it, right? They can't subscribe to a missing topic. They don't constantly poll for it. So you need the topic to exist before you bring up the consumers. This is the issue I had yesterday, in that I was trying to restart things and get things working. When you're producing messages, Kafka will produce a message to a topic and it'll default to 1 and 3. So it'll default to 1 replication factor with 3 uh, partitions, I believe, if you just let it go. What I'm doing here is I'm trying to configure these ahead of time so that when the system comes up, all the topics get created. They all have 1 and 1, right? Because I don't care about scale out. I'm not caring about resilience here. I just care about being able to put messages in there. So I don't have multiple brokers running, so there's no need for replication factor. Replication factor is if I have 10 brokers running, so I distribute my brokers across multiple boxes, I have 10 running, I could say replication factor of 5, which means that the message has to exist on 50% of the machines before it agrees that that message is safe, right? So it's basically a resilience factor in that you're saying, okay, well, it has to exist on 50%. The typical is 2 with 3 brokers. So it has to exist on 2 out of 3. And those have to be in quorum before they say, yep, we got this message. So a message isn't provided to consumers until quorum is reached. So that's a replication factor. And then partitions is, spreading the data out so the messages can be pulled more in parallel. You actually have strategies for partitioning as well. You can actually um, uh, partition based upon data. And so in theory, and I've never tried this and I've never been able to try this, in theory, you could have a topic that has brokers, distributed across the world, um, and then partition it by region, and then a message goes in for a specific region. It gets put into the brokers closest to that region, which means that it's a little faster to deliver. So in theory, you could distribute that way. Um, so there's an order to create the topic. They have to be made before. Yes, and topics should be a part of your messaging strategy. They're not just a a, a bucket to dump stuff in, right? They should be considered and planned. But these have to exist before the rest of the system comes up, because the rest of the system subscribes to it. And if I don't get these there first, they're gonna just bleh. They're gonna fail. It's not useful. So that does not work, does it? Um, um, Kafka tools for creating topics on existing. I wrote another article about redesigning software to give you rewrites or refactors. Nice. What sort of stuff do you have in there? Depends on what you're doing. You can definitely use topic auto creation, but no. Um, Topic naming, I'm not going to go near right now. I don't think you should use hyphens, which is one of the things I've done. Allows alphanumeric characters, underscores, and hyphens, although hyphen and underscore are allowed to be used together, they can collide due to limitations in metric names. Pick one and use either, but not both. How do you know it's better? And selling it to businesses are the two cool sections. Nice. This is a useful article. However, not really what I'm after. And yes, I do break this convention. I have periods and hyphens in my names. But again, this can be changed, right? I can change this. And essentially changing this is changing it here and changing this configuration file. And then everything else would work. That's why I've centralized this piece. However, come on. Officially recommended way to create topics is in the CI pipeline. Right. Okay. So if I go back here, right? So I'll show you what the problem is here. Let's comment out that again. Let's bring this up. So I'm confused. Hold on. Do I? No, in the other one, I do not bring on. So this initialize Kafka, it depends on Zookeeper and Broker, but it does not have any networking configuration. It just has that they have to be started first. Being that Broker has a dependency on the Zookeeper, yeah, we should start a club. Okay, that's started. Okay. So Broker works. No, Broker didn't work. Broker failed then. Oh, is that breaking when I exiting Kafka use a fatal exception during startup? Invalid cluster ID. So starting that other instance definitely breaks the. Blew me down. That's why. So it definitely corrupts it in some way, shape, or form, doesn't it? ls cd configuration ls cat Kafka properties. That's the configuration. Broker service port 29092. There's no cluster in there, is there? Sudo rm rf star cd data sudo rm minus rf star. Okay, let's do that once more. Blew me up. That's why. So it seems to corrupt it in some way. Okay, so that is running. Does that look like it's working now? Yeah, oh, it's healthier. So if I log on to this, right? So what the reason I'm starting that other process up, the goal of that other process is basically I'm trying to run Kafka topics. So if I do Kafka topics, that's a tool that's installed. Actually, I don't need that, do I? Do I need that at all? Um, do I need... It doesn't matter where I am on the machine. That should work, right? So do I need that at all? Because it's in the same namespace as, right? So it's in the namespace. Uh, broker needs a zookeeper service. That needs the zookeeper service. Depends on brokers. That's that. But like, there's no need to do. So all I'm looking for is to get the actual name out, because I'm local. I can use the local port and the name because I'm in the same namespace. But hold on. Labels. Uh, labels. I think that works. I don't think that's correct, but let's find out. Pulling up. I'm still trying to get my head around how labels exactly work. So they aren't just labels, right? It describes them as being a friendly way of kind of um, allowing people to see what's all related and stuff, because they are used for that. However, they also um, get used by the system to kind of figure out what's related um, as well, which is frustrating. So I think this will fail. I think broker's going to fail now. Yeah, it corrupts it. It 100% corrupts it. Exiting fatal exception, invalid clustering meta properties. But red, expected. Hold on. I know why. I don't think they're related. I think it's how I'm setting up the storage. because it retains it between restarts. But I think it's not. I don't think I've configured that storage correctly. It's the configuration piece that is broken. Configuration volume, configuration storage, access modes, persistent volume, data storage, configuration volume, configuration storage. It's definitely this piece. So when it's when I restart it, it's expecting some pieces to be there that aren't there. CD configuration us. Interesting. rm sudo rm minus rf star. That seems wrong that I need to do that. But again, it's picking, like, how deep do I go on the learning at every single turn here? I really didn't want to be doing this for this long. I thought this was going to be a little quicker, but I have no choice. Alice Kafka. So that uses that, and that is not related to this because this just uses the claim. So the name didn't really matter there. The fact that I didn't know L, I stripped the L. That did not matter. Read, write, many. I don't think that's what I want to do. Let's find out. Clean me up. So first start with everything involved. Let's see. I would expect the broker to function on this start. Dota, by the way, did you see that the channel, or is it still missing? If anyone has a chance, any because you're subs, so you should be able to see it. Okay, I don't want to see this fail. I don't mind this failing. I don't want to see this failing. Right, so that starts up fine. No exception. Controller one's connection to broker Kafka, but it restarts. Now on we'll use no Kafka broker service 29092. That's fine. But this one, well, that's interesting. You're just going to keep restarting indefinitely. Failed to create containerd task, failed to create shim task. Great. Unable to start container process exec. Pulling me down. -y. So is that why the exec? Is that why that is bin sh -c? Is that why? Let's find out. So my thought on actually doing this is basically what I'll do is I'll bring the product up at the start of every stream. Maybe leave it on afterwards. It might be on at random times, but no guarantees. But then shut it down at the end of the stream and then bring it up next time. And if it loses data, it loses data. That's the nature of the beast, right? But every day it should get a little bit more stable. Every day we should get to a point where it's able to run and um, just have that little bit more stability in the product. So I'm wondering if I'm fighting multiple things here, where I'm fighting that configuration of startup error. So if this fails again, what I'll do is I'll bring it down once more, then clean everything out, and then start it once more and see what happens. And then it gives me something more to focus on, right? And again, this is just development. It's just figuring out sometimes what is working and isn't working. And yep, you broke. So that broke because of the cluster ID. So that's the problem with it restarting itself. This, however, is trying to connect. Okay, so let's do this. Let's do Pulumi down. Okay, let's bring this down. So then I'm going to have a, so it, so it's retaining the files between restarts, which is annoying. That it's now doing what I ask it to do, except hold on, chmod sudo chmod plus dash r 777 star sudo chmod. Okay, let's try that now. So maybe I just need to give it the right permissions that when it creates it, it can follow through, right? What if it's rewriting that cluster ID? And the problem is that I wasn't giving it read-write privileges because it's creating the files from scratch. So by doing that, I give it the ability to come back up. So the thing I need to learn is about permissions. Hey, maybe. I don't know. I don't think I'm ever going to win with this. How are you doing? So what I'm trying to do is try and get the like the little pieces that get the app up and running stably, functional. So I've got this Kafka deployment. And I'm wondering, oh no, no, you broke, I saw it. No, invalid cluster ID. Okay, that's failing. This all looks headache inducing. I wish I could say it wasn't. So what I'm doing, the application I'm building, I want to take it to the point where I actually have the option of making it a real product. So I'm trying to treat it as close to possible as I would a real product, bearing in mind I'm only streaming for 2 hours a day, right? So part of that is, okay, I want to get deployment working. Deployment will validate that I can actually do that, and then continue development, keep deployment moving, keep practicing that art, so that if I get to the point where I'm saying, yep, this product's good, I know what deployment looks like. I know the challenges of deployment. I know how to make the application run uh, other than my dev machine, right? Because we oftentimes build stuff on a dev machine and it works perfectly, but the moment you try and deploy it, you come up with a whole bunch of more headaches. So I'm just trying to share those headaches over time rather than have them, oh no, I've said I'm going to get it done by, you know, June 1st and it's, you know, it's May 1st and I've got nothing done. Um, so yeah. Um, um, Not a command you want to run without paying attention to what you're running, by the way. Do you feel like you're overcomplicating your Kafka and Kubernetes? Like a well-built system could support hundreds of thousands of users on a single server. It definitely is overcomplicated. Bearing in mind, I'm just trying to build a system, but it started as I want to build something that uses the ideas that I've had on this sort of stuff for years. Um, so it's serving many purposes. Like if it doesn't become a product, I'm not going to be unhappy because I've then proven I can build a distributed system, I can maintain and deploy a distributed system, I can use these technologies effectively, and I'm comfortable with them. Um, if it does succeed, that's great, right? Um, and if it doesn't succeed, everything's getting open sourced, right? Yeah, I'm not focused on the making it big. I'm focused on the I want to learn and grow, and if along the way, because the idea has attracted some attention from people. People definitely feel that it is a useful idea, um, but it's primarily about the learning and the growth. That being said, it would be nice to make it a product, you know. So read write many should only matter if I've got multiple pods running. I only have one pod running, so read write once should be perfectly fine. I don't think that's the problem. But it definitely has some issues with resetting its cluster ID when it restarts. So whether that's a file access issue or not, I don't know. But if this comes up and runs, I'll bring it all down again, delete it all again before we start it up, and then it should be fine. Because the init job can technically go away once it's run, right? So that's come up, that completed. Does that just no not doing anything? Connection to node cannot be established. Well, that's a problem, isn't it? So it is trying to run the command, but it can't do the thing it wants to do. Node may not be available. Yeah, and it only runs once. It doesn't keep running. No worries. Thank you for the look. Appreciate it. That's going to be a hard one. Again, using the streams Streamsy stuff is not an option because that's just too complicated. He says, as see if this has anything. I'm trying to keep the window smaller, by the way, so there's not a bright white screen. Well, that's useful. So I have a very big chicken and egg here. I can't test that it's working because I can't trust that I can't trust the process. Because it won't restart. So if I bring it down, if I bring it down, or rather bring it up, install the nodes, then restart the entire system. So what I can do, just for references, I can do this. I can do, let's remove that. It's not necessary. So if I go to here, I go onto the broker, go here, and paste that, right? It will create my topics. Okay. Now I can't bring this down. now we really cannot bring this down. Unless there's a clean way of bringing down Kafka that I'm missing. That's the only thing. So now if I go here, I'm going to remove this for right this second. It's completely useless. Now I need to go into index here, uncomment everything else. It's not I'm used to that being a remove rather than a toggle, and that was a toggle. Then go here, no, not that one, here, and uncomment these. I should be able to do Pulumi up. Now the Kafka piece is running. Before we do that, let's go and validate Kafka is running properly. So we'll do kubectl port forward. Actually, we'll do kubectl get service, n is ls Kafka. Kubectl port forward, svc Kafka akhq service 8089 to 808L. I have it running locally as well, so if I try and connect to the same port, it's gonna do that. So now let's go and have a look and check out KHQ localhost 8089. Okay, so there's all the topics that have been created. we need to now let's start everything else up. Interesting, it knows to remove that job. That's cool. So we'll immediately need an extra window where we are going to kubectl port forward, svc console service 8599 to 8500. N is ls console. The reason we need that piece is because we need to have the key value configuration for Kafka configuration, because why would that save? This continues to be a pain in my backside. So I think even though I've got stateful sets, even though I've got storage configured, and the storage does seem to live, I have some permissions issues, and definitely access issues somewhere along the lines. Oh, sorry for the mic bump. So that's going to continue to be a challenge. Okay, so they all aligned. Let's go into SQL Server. So again, let's port forward that. Let's do one more. So here we're going to do kubectl get service n is ls storage kubectl port forward svc ls SQL service 1439 to 1433 n is ls storage. So that should allow me to at least see this. I don't know if I wiped everything out. I did do some cleanup yesterday after stream, but I'm not sure I wiped everything out. Yeah, I didn't. Okay. So Mojo was playing yesterday after stream. When I create stuff, it wasn't working. So we are going to truncate tables, planning items, scripts, truncate. Yes. Hi, Phil. How you doing? How are things with you? Truncate. So the fun thing is here, though, what I could have done there is just reset the dates on these, and they would have picked up, and the data would have started to flow. That's interesting. It did associate a product. Truncate. Tenant management. This is the harder one. Interesting. He logged in. Oh, that's very interesting. That'll essentially reprocess those, right? So they've actually just published a Kafka now. Yeah. So that data did get pushed around. Now, the weird thing is here we only have one consumer group running, which is the view integration. That is not correct because the changes should be running as well. So something's not right with changes, right? Interesting. Duplicate. Very interesting. Um, oh, we need Mongo as well. Wow. All these port forwards. So I'm realizing that there are some flaws in having this use the development system. Mainly the fact that because all we're using is the GUIDs, what Mojo did yesterday is he logged in using the account that he's been using for development, right? Which instantly allows him to create data because we don't validate that the tenant that you're logging in as exists in the data set, right? We're not saying, oh, by the way, is this actually a valid tenant yet? Which means that when he creates data, his tenant ID is associated with it. So all the data is correctly associated. So he essentially creates a tenant on the fly, which if someone got through that, obviously there's a problem there because they can just make up a tenant and create whatever data they want. It's not quite so simple. The tenant is stored in auth0 and pulled and validated with auth0. So you'd have to mess with that, and that wouldn't be easy. But it's possible. So one of the first features I need to do is tenant validation to make sure the tenant is valid in the data sets that we have available to us. Get services, storage, ls, n, ls storage, kubectl, port forward. What port did I put this on? 27019. I have a habit of just dropping 9 on the end of it. SVC, MongoDB service, 27017, and ls storage. Port that. Changes, pipelines outbox needs one as well. I did get the planning items though. That's interesting. I got Jeffrey. And there's the outbox. With the change event. So changes is consuming, although the changes consumer group isn't listening or isn't registered. Changes receivers is here. Interesting. So let's try. So the reason Mojo is able to create data is because he has permissions set up in auth0. So even if you were to go to the site and create an account, it wouldn't do anything for you because you couldn't actually create any data because you don't have any permissions. So he still has the benefit of being able to assign himself permissions. Um, so again, you'd have to have permissions in the system as it stands right now, but that's going to change as well. So that's not a bug I need to chase down. Um, but so Liquid Sky is logged in. If I create a new item, um, um, what would this be? Configure uh, uh, KS storage properly. Because until I can survive restarts, right? Until this actually manages to survive a full restart and retains all the data, like it is retaining the state, it is returning the database data. And the MongoDB clearly is retained because that was stopped and started. But the configuration for the topics and the Kafka pieces are very flaky right now to the point where I can't bring the system down and bring it up because it'll just lose everything. Um, Storage should survive restarts, so configuration is not lost. Um, let's just do that for right now. 12/13/2024. You see, assigned to that should be a user list. That created, that did create. So we should have a planning item over here, right? So we have a planning item. We should have a planning item make it through here in a second. There's the planning item. There's the actual planning item. Okay. Should have a change appear at some point. Executed bought right planning item. So it's right into the outbox and it's written to the messaging outbox. There you go. There's the change appeared. So we've identified that this is a new planning item. Once you change detail appear, and I don't know why I don't see any other consumer groups. There are many other consumer groups, and I don't know why they're not registered. Hold on. Are they listening to the right things is the question. So when we do view, so let's go over here. So the view receiver is definitely doing it. So this should now have an extra planning item. No, we have no planning items. Okay. Interesting. So the one thing that is running, unless that's failing, ls view GraphQL deployment, ls view receivers. Okay. Oh. There's the planning item. There's the outbox for the planning item. Pipelines never picked it up because otherwise pipelines would have created a planning item. So it's as if everything else is just not listening to that thing. So let's go to changes first. Let's start with pipelines, right? So the idea is that this should be listening to 9092 with broker, Kafka consumer producer, LS view integration. Oh, what are you doing? They're not view, are they? Changes consumers. I've dumped everything. So the problem is Kafka works in consumer groups. And what I've done is I've copied and pasted the configuration into all these different pieces. That puts them all in the same group. So the way that works is the first one to pick out the message gets the message. Everything else just ignores the message. So nothing's producing because it's all going into the same group. So this is changes consumers. Let's rename these appropriately, right? So these two can be in the same. No, they can't. No, they can't. This cannot be in the same because it needs to listen to the exact same messages. They have to be separate consumer groups. Which means I've made the same mistake on the others. View integration. That doesn't have any consumers. That's fine. Tasks, API, planning, API. Okay, so is it just changes that I've got working? Is it just changes? Everything else is API based, so that's fine. Consumer group PTSD, memories of being woke up at 3 a.m. because of a hung consumer groups on the main topic, everything down. Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna go into stuff like that for certain. Because it's stuff that I care very much about learning. I never got to do any of the deep not even analytics stuff, but dig into some of those pieces. So understanding where messages are. There's a lot of stuff to. Oh, everybody we know recreate consumer group, but then we had to chase data loss or data duplication. Well, data duplication I should be able to handle. There should be a lot of code in place to validate that I don't receive, even if I receive the same message again, it is it knows it's received it. Oh, that's again practices, right? That's doing the right things. So we should just be able to do pull me up, and it should understand that those are changes to the configuration. So let's see. What do they? We didn't know. Yeah, distributed computing is not. It seems simple until you start applying the same rules you would do to regular development. Then you get bitten by. Yeah, there's the big pros of doing it this way are the big cons of doing it this way as well. There's a lot to take in and a lot to understand. Yeah. I am seeing and understanding now more about why um um why doing it this way is not ideal for a solo developer. I fully appreciate that. Mr. Anhorn, how you doing? Okay, so that should have created more consumer groups. There we go. Things might start looking a little healthier now. he says, with no actual evidence to back that up. Okay. That's always going to break because I need to figure out how to do the redirect in there. So that is broken because... There you go, that's planning items finally. So we got into there. Good. Gone on muscle done with sprint work. The bugs have come. Dear. At least we could set a starting date on the consumer group, meaning not an entire month was resent. Yeah. Yeah. It's we'll see. And again, I do not intend to manage the Kafka, right? I intend if and when this becomes a thing, the idea would be very much to get the why are you not producing an outbox? You should be producing an outbox. Why did you not get there? Okay, let's assume that well, let's put that down to yeah, yeah, this entire thing is not something I would do as a solo developer, right? Yes, I am doing it as a solo developer, but again, there's so many different pieces. There's so many things to learn, so many things to understand. I have a deep enough understanding to feel confident with what I'm doing, but I know what I don't know. I know where my weaknesses are, and I know where I've got to learn more. Module, good morning. We just inherited the Kafka cluster some other people set up and then quit. That sounds familiar. Planning item, verify workflow. This should go through all the pieces. 12, 13, 20. Yeah, still not working that. That means that, so that, just seeing this means that it is added to the planning items, right? So it is automatically here. Let's see what other pieces it touches now. There's the changes, there's the planning items. Changes happened almost exactly at the same time. There's that. But you should publish a detail. Should you not? That is not functioning correctly. Pipelines, consumers, no lag. Changes, planning items, and users. Is that failing? Pipelines, changes, pipelines, planning items. You should still receive. There you go. Planning item is there now in view. So that did get picked up. So this refresh will work. That 404 when you hit refresh is because the rule is set up so that if it's slash, it will go to the client project. If it's API or GraphQL, it will go to the gateway. The problem is it should be API gateway, API GraphQL goes to the gateway, slash anything should navigate to the client if it's on this domain, right? Because the problem is that it's actually when you do when you do this, the spar is changing the URL, but it never navigates. It just changes the URL. If you refresh, that's trying to reload that, and it's not navigating it back into the client. That's why you get the 404 when you refresh. Okay, need users, but I don't know why users isn't showing. That's fine. What I'm gonna do is wipe things out, restart things. We got some configuration there. We don't have changes because it's not producing change detail, but it should produce change detail to the best of my knowledge. Let's make a change to this. Let's see, actually. Can we add a project? Project TP. That does not work. Or did that work? Hey, Si. It is going. I am trying to validate deployment right this second. How are you doing? Okay, food entertain me. With my complete failure, I will try. So right now I'm chasing around all over the place with configuration, with settings, with validating Kafka. Yeah, this is it's going to be challenging. So for anyone who hasn't seen the workflow of my my small simple system here, this is the project, right? So when you make something on the client, when you create a planning item or whatever, it is routed to the correct API for it, right? So if it's a planning item, it goes to planning. If it's a task, it goes to tasks. If it's an attachment, it goes to attachments first, and then planning item is associated with an attachment, blah, blah, blah. So there are different APIs for different components of the system. When something in there changes, it publishes an event to Kafka to say this thing changed. Kafka, we have consumers consuming information from there. So changes is one of them. It picks out the message and says, okay, I've seen this before. I care about this thing. Here's what it was. Here's what it is. Here's the differences. And it publishes out those differences. The pipeline piece here, which is name pending. I can't think of a better name right this second. The pipeline's job is to pull those changes out, compare the value, not compare the values, enrich the values when necessary. So changes will determine, oh, you changed from GUID user ID this to GUID user ID that, and publish the fact that those things changed. Pipeline will say, oh, these things changed. Let me enrich that for you and tell you more information, because pipeline pulls in all the data from all over the places, consumes it, and now enriches that data and says, okay, well, that was Bob and now it's Jim, right? And it publishes out a message. The view picks that up. So the changes that display on the view here are driven from that. So I'm trying to figure out why that is not happening right this second. It's not erroring, it's just not doing it, right? So either my consumers are configured incorrectly, or I've got some more configuration to change. And being that I have copied and pasted a lot of configuration, that's quite understandable. So once the changes publish, the view has picked up the data. So the planning item, the task, whatever, that is consumed by the view the same way pipeline consumes it, and it stores a version of that data itself. And then has a GraphQL API in front of that. So the client actually never speaks through an API gateway, and everything is navigated through the gateway for the client to see. Benefit, I can change whatever I want back here. and the client has no idea, as long as the routes stay the same from the client to the gateway, and everything just works. I can also introduce alternate versions of some of these pieces, and again, the front end never needs to care. Also, I can change and flex any component of this overall system without breaking everything else in the system. So, okay. Pipelines received. Did I mess anything up here? So the receivers, there's a bootstrap, that group ID changes consumers. That should not be changes consumers. But pipelines, receivers. Yeah, so they're both. Now both of these are consumers and publishers, like producers and consumers, whatever you want. Changes consumers and changes pipelines consumers. So those are so I have these consumer groups, changes consumers, consumes planning items. That's all it really cares about right now. And pipelines consumers consumes planning items, changes and users, because it needs a planning item to be able to enrich the detail or the user or whatever. It also needs projects. That's interesting. Why doesn't that consume projects? Why did I not configure that topic? I think I did. Projects, yeah, there's one project. That's got the control tower. How's that got the control tower message in it? So I released that message again. Okay. Yeah. I released that one again, and I probably shouldn't have done. Again, I'm meant to be wiping data out between restarts here because it's just not going to. So this definitely picked up after that change. What I'm expecting to see is an output collection here, but I'm not seeing the output collection. Don't be messing with anything, by the way, Mojo. Don't be trying to create data or anything. Otherwise, it's going to throw me off. Because if I see things changing, I'm going to be then lost in what's changing when. Also, how did you oh, view integration changes lag. Why do you have lag? How did your holiday thing go last night? Yes, I know you did yesterday. That's fine. I'm kind of wiped out parts of that. Why do you have lag? Oh, you have lag because you don't care. That's why. There's nothing consuming it into that. So I've got it in the group, but there's no need. This might feel like pure pain. However, I'd rather have this pain now and continue to figure it out and build the expertise and learn everything I need to learn before I go to actually deploy it and have people really using it, because then the stress is there. And I don't want the stress. There's no stress for this right this second other than just frustration about chasing lots of little pieces everywhere, right? And it might be that I have to put some logging in. But again, trying to make that a strategy rather than just a knee-jerk reaction is key. So view receivers, pipelines receivers. So this doesn't log any challenge, any problems, right? There's nothing in here that's telling me. So there's it. There's it receiving the creating the collection for planning items, and that was it. However, that being said, let's try one more thing here. Let's create another project. Let's create our project. Um, New project. One more boss got noise cancelling headphones, which is cool. Nice. Okay, so where did that go? That went nowhere. That went absolutely nowhere. API projects 4 or 3. I'm just bringing up Auth0 on the other screen to validate that. User management, users. Yeah, so you did. Okay. Roles. Okay. Let's do this. Let's log out. That's fine. Totally broke that one. Liquid Sky. Sign in. Again, even if you manage to get through the layers here, you wouldn't be able to create data. So I'm not and test project. There we go. Okay, so that was a permissions thing. Okay, that's okay. So we should have now 2 projects there. Topics. Changes detail. Changes pipeline should consume projects as well, I think. Changes pipeline. Oh, it doesn't. That's a problem. Not really. It should receive projects eventually. So what I've got to figure out for me, like just because it's not something that I'm, again, right now I've got to play all the roles, right? I've got to play the PM, the development team lead, the developer, the support, all these different pieces, and figure out what is the best pipeline for me to gather the right feedback, understand how to order and prioritize the actions I'm about to take. Hello, who is Ab? Apologies if I just messed up your name, but welcome in. Thank you for joining us. Because I can't just go off. It would be absolutely ridiculous to go off and chase every single little thing I find at this point, right? I have to stop myself from going chasing everything. What I need to do is have a baseline of here's what's working, here's what's not. Understand that, figure out the pieces I need to do, and then prioritize them. Video editor and showing if I work. I'll try and. I'm afraid not. I mean, if you're a video editor, I mean, producing content and demonstrating it as a portfolio may get you some. I don't make produced videos, so it's not something I'm looking for. But you also will not find a lot of people being very sympathetic to advertisements like that, jumping in and trying to ask those sorts of questions. It's a development stream. So just be careful you don't get yourself. I'm not gonna remove the message or whatever, but it's yeah, you probably get more negative feedback than you get positive posting that. Best thing I can say is go off and produce content and maybe look on Fiverr and things like that to find content to um so sorry, no, I'm a little thrown off. Oh, the head's killing me. Yeah, I'm gonna have to figure out how to correctly prioritize and arrange the pieces because it's gonna. I do not want to chase down every little thing. Just go from issue to issue to issue to issue to issue because I'm finding them obviously through testing. Because again, the entire purpose of doing this now is so that I can go through this pain, figure out, oh, why is this working on development? Because I might have done something crazy on development, or development might just be working because it happens to have landed in sweet spot of deployment and development that it just happens to work. But when you deploy it from fresh, it doesn't work. So, um, you know, figuring out those things is going to be important. Um, that being said, if I go here now and go here, I can bring up the planning item. I cannot see changes, but let's have a look. Let's see if you can do that. We can get a change to go through, right? There's our message going through to planning items. Should get picked up in changes in a minute, or less than a minute, I would hope. There's a change, right? It produced the change, so it consumed and then produced. Hey, by the way, the status went from this to this. Oh, there's our detail. So what that tells me is I probably do have code in there, and it crashed on the message when it went to produce it. It probably crashed, or it just errored out or whatever. But yeah. So now we should have. Oh, that might be one of the first things I prioritize. There you go. Status from preparing to ready for planning. Okay. Okay, so next, assign user. Why is assign user not actually working? So, fun fact, memory serves as our users. Ah, interesting. We have no user information. Why do we not have any user information? Well, we only have one tenant user. So that's that. That's that problem gone. So some of this is caused by Mojo. Some of the data discrepancy is caused by the Mojo. Unknowingly breaking the process. Or unwittingly breaking the process. It's not a there's an eagerness to test and to play. Now, let's see if comments work. Comments. Can I add a new comment? I can add a new comment about this thing and have it work. known issue doesn't do that. Requirements. I should be able to see new requirements. So if you're late joining, if you are a subscriber to the stream and your Discord and your Twitch accounts are linked, you should see some extra channels appear in the Discord, right? The one that I'm really focused on is I have started a Liquid Sky feedback forum channel in the Discord. Right now it's linked to only Twitch subs and mods. For the purpose of I want to control the process here a little bit more, and by making it Twitch subs, yes, it means that you could potentially pay and get access, but that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to make sure I lock it down to the people who regularly attend the stream, and start there before I build it out. Because by building this, there will be people that do come into the stream and want to tinker, and I've got to be able to figure that out. So you should see some extra channels appear in Discord. That's where I'm going to start processing the feedback once this is actually working. How does this work? Let's see what this looks like now. Topics. Okay, so we have a requirement published. There we go. Topics, changes, detail. There's our changes. There should be a channel under streams, Liquid Sky feedback. If your Discord's linked to your Twitch account, it should show. That's the idea. There's a detail. There's a comment from before. Did that? I'll make it to here. Users. Comments didn't make it yet. Requirement did make it. Users. Jeffrey Winkle. Jeffrey at test.com. I think I might have spent some time this weekend trying to figure that out. So the requirement's there. My comment's not there. My change is there. It knows the comment's there. If that was answered in the Discord, there's a Liquid Sky feedback channel under the streams category, not Agile Project Management. Ah, interesting. There should be at least 2 extra categories showing there. Am I just really bad at this? Actually, it should be. How come you only stream for 2 hours? Because I work at 9:30. I'm on the East Coast of the US, so I start at 7 a.m. and stream until 9 or just slightly after, and then begin my workday. Nope. I'm originally from Oldham in the UK, and near Manchester, and yeah, I moved to the US in 2007. So this is my accent after 17 years of being in the US. Downloading Beladro was a big mistake. That was up for Game of the Year award, wasn't it? So for those who haven't been on the stream before, I am a big game fan. Ah, that's Blatra. Okay, that's Blatra. The poker roguelike. Ah, interesting. Yeah, I love games. Okay. Starting the stream at 7 a.m. is brutal. Well, I get up at 5 a.m., get my wife and daughter ready and out the house by about 6:30. Then I make sure the dogs are settled and start the stream. And then work till 6, which is why I don't stream in the evenings as well. I would love to. Okay, well, maybe off stream, someone who is around at some point soon can maybe give me some time, maybe over the weekend, to try and debug and diagnose stream channels, because I would like to make it available that way. Okay. One line, are you running your community day stream today, by the way? Before I go shouting that out. I hope everything is settled now. And oh, I know who we're raiding. Things are not fully settled, but managed at least. Okay, well, I look forward. So if you have not been there before, One Lion streams Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays regularly. On Mondays and Wednesdays, he works on, or has been working on his actual work stuff. So the streams are looking at what he does on a day-to-day basis. And on Fridays, he streams and does a community day stream. So he opens up the Discord, and you're able to jump in and have a chat, and lots of good topics are. The development community on Twitch is awesome, and there's a lot of really great people around with a lot of different experiences, and it's really good to sit down and talk with people who have different perspectives and different opinions, and can actually can talk about stuff and disagree or agree, you know. But yeah, so I have a bit of diagnosis to do, right? It's not consuming everything. Maybe there's some errors. I might actually have to look at how to put some form of logging and tracing stuff in before I go too much further, because obviously now I need to consider that strategy. Day to day, this has been working fine, but now I'm hitting things like it's not picking up stuff, right? The view receivers here, is this erroring, right? It doesn't look like it's erroring, but it's clearly not logging everything, right? It's not inserting comments. It's not tracing those things. So is it just not consuming them? Things not running? Let's find out. That error code is from when it was starting up, when things weren't there. But yeah. So, but yeah, if you are around on a Friday afternoon, around 12:30 Eastern, so 5:30 p.m. UK time, while I end the stream, is a great place to hang out. And again, there's a lot of people, some people who don't get up early enough to be able to come to this stream, which is great to see. But yeah, okay. Well, I'm gonna finish up here. I am sorry I didn't get this done today. I really would have liked to have this stream be, hey, look, you can log in and test it if you want to. The goal will be to get the channel set up in Discord. For those of you that are subs, that's how I'm going to start it. You'll be able to access it next week is the goal, and then we can roll it out a little deeper, a little further, and start to gather some pace on feedback. I know that several of you do want to test it and play with it, and then once we've got that running, Mojo and I are going to do some discussions off stream, do some planning, get some prep about what steps we're going to take and what direction things are heading, and then try and build that list out, as I said, try and prioritize it. So I'm not just chasing around fixing bug after bug after bug after bug, because bugs are going to appear, right? Once you get this many features in place, bugs are going to appear because there's things you didn't consider in this direction. You can't keep the entire system in your head, and it is a natural problem with doing it this way, especially this way as a solo developer. I'm going to hit that more than if I was developing a monolith that I was very comfortable with. But I appreciate it. I appreciate the support. I appreciate everyone hanging out, and I will return on Monday. Next week is a full week. Yes, next week is a full week. So should have no problems there. But yeah, let's go and raid Eagle Hansen. So Eagle is a developer of BUnit, which is a unit testing framework for Blazor. I don't personally use it, but I'm not a Blazor developer, but there is a lot of people I know that are in here that have done Blazor. And it is good to raid another .NET developer. So thank you all. Take care. Have a great weekend if I don't see you around. And I'll see you again on Monday.